So, you're about to head out on your new course creation or perhaps your podcasting journey. Would you like to know some tips to help make the road less bumpy? Stay tuned and find out.
Being an entrepreneur sounds like, yes, another new client. I did it. But it can also sound like, I am really not understanding this technology, and I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Am I even cut out for this? That's why I started the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast, to help infopreneurs, coaches, and course creators who want to build a business online but are battling technology, overwhelm, procrastination, and even imposter syndrome. Think successfully, think differently, think bigger, and take action by learning tips from an array of business owners, all dropping knowledge on the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast. Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
What is up? What is up? What the hell is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to another dose of course creation and podcast road smoothing learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkmann, and as many of you know, I've been in the coaching and course creation space since like the 90s. So I got a little bit of experience under my belt, and here's the thing. I'm still learning, and that's why I'm here, is I want to share with you what I have learned, what I'm still learning about all these facets in these areas of, I won't call them expertise, but areas of interest. But it begs the question, who are you? And to me, my friend, I think that answer is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur. More specifically, perhaps an infopreneur with or seeking a coaching and online course creation model in your business. Or maybe you're just hoping to have that very, very soon. Either way, why are you here? Well, I think you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, or just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results. Very important to get those results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that's why I'm here, to share with you the things I wish I had known before I started online courses or podcasting. Originally, this episode was going to be the things I wish I had known before I started podcasting. As I started going through the notes I started taking, I realized so much of this also applies to online course creation. So it's been modified a bit from its original format. So enjoy this little episode and come along with a ride with me. And so you may hear me say just sometimes the word podcasting, and I also mean online course creation, and the reverse also applies, because I think online course creation and podcasting is about one of the easiest things you can do in the world, and yet somehow it is the damn well most difficult. Yeah, and if you've tried either one, you know what I'm saying. It's easy because you turn on the mic, you start recording, and you talk. Something just about anyone can do, and it applies to both podcasting and course creation. But at the same time, it's also hard if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know your audience, right? If you don't know these things, your audience, well, will probably just be you, your dog, and maybe your mom. That's about it, right? Which is not what you want. The very best time to know what you're doing in terms of creating a successful and popular podcast or valuable and informative online course is long before you press that record button the first time. But for the creators, it can be a hard slog of trial and error and experimentation and wasted time, while we all learn the hard way what works and damn well what doesn't. So, fortunately for you, I've assembled some of the best little tidbits of advice for you to learn from as you start your, or maybe you don't start one, maybe you already have one, your course or your podcast. All right, here we go. Tip number 1, knowing equals getting. And what I mean here is why do you want to start an online course? Or why do you have that course? Why do you want to do a podcast? If you know what you want to get out of the course, out of the podcast, then you'll not only have a reason for learning this new skill or furthering the knowledge of the skill you've learned so far, but you'll also know where the hell you want to take it. That's kind of important. I mean, Are you podcasting just because everyone else is doing it? Are you creating an online course just because some guru like myself told you that you should? Then don't bother, because you're just going to end up wasting your time. Wait, did he just say don't bother? You're always telling me to create. Yeah, don't bother if you don't know why you're doing it, okay? Do you want a podcast or do you want a course because you want to be known as the expert in your field? Yeah. Do you want a course because you want to connect with other movers and shakers and sell products? Well, good, because now you have a clear reason to create your podcast or your course. That's very important there. Number 2, your email list comes before your product, right? Before your podcast or before your course. I think here, too many people get this one, I don't know, got its ass up in the air and its head down on the ground, bass backwards, as my dad used to say. They go into it thinking that having a podcast or having a course is a great way to start building their email list. And it is, don't be wrong. It's a slow trog, though. Because if you don't already have an email list, then when you first start that course or that first episode of your podcast drops, who's going to be listening to it? Yeah, your dog, you, your mom, maybe your spouse, right? The very first step to creating a successful anything in a digital space, a course, a podcast, whatever, is to start building an email list and a presence on social media. And I'm not saying you need to be omnichannel everywhere. I'm saying you just need where you think or preferably your core audience is going to be the people that are going to resonate with your course. Where do they hang out? Do they hang out on TikTok? Do they hang out on LinkedIn or Facebook? Or are they over on the Insta? Maybe they have a WhatsApp presence, right? You want to establish yourself there. Yeah, and start building your list. And once your list is a decent size and responsive, let me say it again, and responsive, then you launch your course. Then you launch your podcast. You're going to send your subscribers and your social media friends to your podcast to get that critical mass, that boost as soon as you hit iTunes to jump you up in the lists, right? So that you can grab more listeners and more subscribers and then really start to build your email list. Now, without your initial email list, it's going to be very, very difficult out of the gate to get anyone to your podcast during those first few crucial weeks. All right. Number 3. Have something to sell from day one. This is where I stumbled, bumbled, and fell and face planted, right? Podcasting and course creation, it takes time. You'll be investing your time to create your episodes, to create your lessons, and to edit those episodes and edit those lessons, and then marketing, and find people to come in and talk, doing everything else that needs to be done. Or you'll be hiring someone to do it, right? Wouldn't it be nice if your podcast started out making money right out of the gate, so that these expenses are covered? So at least you're at net zero, so you're not like negative. It's not like just an expensive hobby. Or maybe even better yet, you're earning something for your time. If you don't have your own product, get out there and find an affiliate product and make it your, he does air quotes, sponsor. So you can start sharing an ad on your podcast about this affiliate product. And if nothing else, at least you're making some affiliate commissions. Same thing with your course. Have an upsell, right? Maybe your initial course is self-liquidating. And what that means is whatever money you're spending on ads and the costs it takes to get a prospect turned into a paying customer, at the end of the day, the cost of the course pays for that ad spend, that cost up front. So it's called self-liquidating. Now, if you have an upsell, be it an affiliate product or a product of your own, then you can start being net positive. Okay. Tip number 4, choose to be a celebrity from day one. All right? Before your first episode, before your first lesson, you need to ask yourself who you want to be when you're in front of that camera, when you're on that microphone. You need to choose to be a celebrity from day one. All right? You need to choose to be someone who is bigger than you are in real life. Someone with a memorable name and a personality. Now, I'm not saying you need to be fake about it. I'm just saying you need to let you shine because you need to be the best, most vivid, most perfect example of who you are in every way possible. Decide what is special about you and how you are different from everyone else. What are your superpowers, as you've heard me say so many times? What can you do better than anyone else? What have you have experienced that others most likely have not? Now, maybe they can align with those experiences, right? Maybe you went through drugs and bankruptcy. Okay, other people can resonate with that because they went through some down hard times, Maybe you were in prison, I don't know. What perspective can you take that is news or noteworthy that they can go, oh, well, they get it because they've been through that and I've been through that. Now, if the answer is nothing, well, then it's time to choose who you will become when you turn the microphone on, when that camera on-air light comes on, that little red button that says the camera's on. Now, this isn't a matter of becoming a different person. Like I said, I don't want you to be fake, but rather of choosing the best bits of who you already are and making them just a little bit bigger, shining them up a little bit more, letting them out. Here's a perfect example. I got a buddy, and his name's Sid, and he's a very animated character. Now, when he gets on camera, there are times he just lets that animation fly because it's who he is, right? It's something, and people resonate with that. That energy pulls them in. And it maybe for you, you're a healer. You're a more calm and calming soul. So you're going to let that fly out. I'm not saying you have to be super animated. Whatever attribute it is you have that makes you who you are at your core, let that fly, right? Now, by getting yourself known by this, right, you're marketing you. You're taking an attribute of who you are and you're just letting it shine through the microphone or on the camera, and you're marketing yourself. Huh? It's going to make it a lot easier to make connections, and you can't be afraid to make connections, to show up in your niche and to participate just like the celebrity you are. Tip number 5, build credibility. Having a course or podcast, build credibility because you get to showcase what you know. Do lots of episodes, create lots of lessons, give away lots of free content out there to establish you and your expertise in your niche. Interview some big shots in your niche. Even go outside of your niche if it somehow relates to the theme of your course or your podcast. Now, you've seen me. I've had folks from way outside the entrepreneurial, the podcasting, and the online course realm, right? But I was always able to take their knowledge and relate it back. I usually do little bits at the end of the interview to help you see how that content related back to your journey. Interviewing experts and celebrities places you on par with those people because they become your colleagues. Now, then do the other side. Be interviewed. When you're interviewed on other people's shows or add content to other people's courses, you build even more credibility as you're reaching entirely new audiences than you're doing all by yourself. Tip number 6, showcase your endorsements, right? Those testimonials. Let the world and your future guests and listeners know who you've had on your show, who you've had as part of your course, as well as which podcasters or which other experts have interviewed you for their courses. Right? Set up yourself a little media page on your site where you list each interview or each course that you have participated in, and then a link back to it. If you go back to my website, www.darkhorseschooling.com, you'll see some of that down on mine. And then I've also created what's called a one sheet that specifically lists a more narrow band of podcasts and courses I've been included in. So people can see that when they're looking at it. And it's also becomes something you can send out. Hey, can I be a part? I hear you're getting ready to build this course. I hear you have this podcast. I would like to be a part of it. You can send that to them and they can look and say, wow, he's been a part of all these amazing projects. Of course I want to bring him in. Okay. Tip number 7, and my goodness, we're already 16 minutes in. I'm going to have to do the other 7 tips on a separate episode so you can continue to listen to this. I don't want to drag this out too long. All right, so tip number 7, I'm going to leave you with this, and then we'll do the other 7 on the next episode. Build your list. Oh, wait a minute, Tracy, you just mentioned that, right? Oh, Again, as I mentioned before, it's best to have a list before you start your course, before you start your podcast, to get them both up off the ground as fast as possible. But, and this is why I say but in the build part, then as your podcast or your course begins to gain momentum, you can further use it to build your list, something you probably thought about in the first place. Now, to list build, you're going to need 5 things. You're going to need an easy to remember domain. It needs to be short, it needs to be catchy, so that when you give it on your podcast, or you share it in your lessons of your course, people can remember it. You could even do something separate than your main domain, right? Maybe I've got darkhorseschooling.com. Maybe I say, I don't know, dark horse, whatever. I'm just maybe it's not a good time to try and guess things right now. But you get my point. I could say talktotracy.com. There it is. Boom. Right? Something easy. Talk to Tracy. Very difficult to misspell, except for some people put an E in Tracy. Anyway, I'm babbling now. The next thing you're going to need is an autoresponder. Use whichever one you like. I don't care what it is. Aweber, GetResponse, MailChimp, whatever. So that you can start now. You could put up an email series that starts going out so that you can warm them up. You're going to need a landing page. This is the form you're going to place your URL to give out during your course or your course lessons or your podcast. Now, it should quickly summarize whatever your free offer is. And you're going to need a free offer. There's going to need to be a reason for them to give their email address to you. Right? You need to give them value for that email address. And then finally, a download page. This is where you're going to thank them for joining your list and give them whatever freebie, download, lead magnet that they signed up for. Yeah, you can either send it to them straight from the sign up page to a download page, or some folks like to do the email verify and you send them a link. Now, here's the other thing. The thank you page could just say, thank you for signing up. You'll be seeing an email from us with the free report or whatever the freebie is contained inside that email. That helps them think, oh, well, I just gave you a bogus email thinking you were going to take me to a download page. And people do that. So they'll go back to your URL and give you a real email address if they really want your free content. There you go. And then the actual free report, the video or the cheat sheet, discount or whatever it is that you promised them, please make sure you send it to them, right? I've seen some of I'll call them shady folks. They lose credibility if they say, hey, I'm going to send you this. And then you're like waiting for the email. Hello. It never gets there. And it's not even in your spam. And then you try to reach back out to them and you get nothing, crickets. So don't do that, right? Give them what they expected. Actually, I would even go so far as giving them more. Hey, I know you signed up for this list of 77 whatevers. I'm also going to give you this. And you click this link here and there'll be a free video to drive even more value. Like, wow, I asked for this and they gave me this, that, and the other thing. Just amazing. Wow them right out of the gate. All right, I'm going to stop right there and I'll do the next 7 on the next episode. But as a quick summary, tip number 1 was knowing equals getting. Know why you want to have that course or that podcast, right? Have an email list before you start. So at least, it doesn't have to be a big email list, just a few folks on there so that when you hit the ground, you hit the ground running. Have something to sell from day one, whether it's your product or someone else's. Number 4 is choose to be who you are. What kind of celebrity you're going to be, because you're going to be a celebrity, right? And of course you are. So go ahead and be that person that you are right out of the gate, and then build credibility. Start laying yourself out there, putting your expertise out there in your podcast, in your courses, and then showcase your endorsements. Let people know what projects you've been a part of. And as you get more projects and be a part of them, update that part of your website so they can see that. They go, oh, wow, look at all the things that they not only have done, but are still doing. And then the last one was continue to build your list. And I added in there, be sure to over deliver in the value. All right, so I'm going to cut it off right there. I'm going to leave you, as I always do, think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Did you know this?
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkmann.